Respect isn't handed out based on bloodlines. It only took 36 seconds of pure arrogance before everything exploded into one of the most shocking ejections in television history. Before we dive into this unbelievable encounter, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now, because we're pulling back the curtain on royalty's dark side, exposing entitled celebrities and their shocking behavior the cameras never showed you. We've got the raw footage they don't want you to see, and you won't want to miss a single reveal. Drop a comment below with your thoughts on this outrageous behavior, because what you're about to witness will leave you speechless. So there's Prince Harry, walking onto Jon Stewart's set like he's strolling through Buckingham Palace. The audience is clapping, the lights are bright, and Jon is standing there with that welcoming smile he's known for. He extends his hand for a handshake, professional, warm, the way he greets every single guest who sits in that chair. But Harry? He looks at Jon's hand like it's beneath him. He doesn't shake it. He just walks past, gives this little dismissive wave, and plops down in the guest chair like he's doing everyone a favor by being there. You can see Jon's face, that smile faltering for just a second before he recovers. Professional to his core, Jon lets it slide and takes his own seat. "Welcome to the show," Jon says, still trying to keep things light and friendly. "It's great to have you here." Harry leans back in his chair, arms spread wide over the backrest, taking up as much space as humanly possible. "Yeah, well, I'm here," he says with this smirk. "Thought I'd grace your little program with my presence." The audience laughs nervously. They think it's a joke. It has to be a joke, right? But Jon's expression shifts slightly. You can see it in his eyes. He knows this isn't playful banter. This is something else entirely. "Well, we're honored," Jon replies, keeping his tone even, though there's an edge creeping in. "I know you've been doing a lot of interviews lately. What made you want to come on this little program?" Harry shrugs, looking around the studio like he's assessing whether it meets his standards. "Honestly, my people told me I should. Good exposure, or whatever. Though between you and me," he leans forward, voice dripping with condescension, "I've been on much bigger shows than this." The audience goes quiet, dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. Jon's jaw tightens. He's a seasoned host. He's dealt with difficult guests before. But this is blatant disrespect on a level he's never encountered. "Bigger shows," Jon repeats slowly. "Right. Well, we'll try to keep you entertained for the next few minutes." "Minutes?" Harry laughs, but it's not a friendly laugh. It's mocking. "How long is this supposed to go? I've got a dinner reservation at 8. Jon glances at his notes, clearly trying to steer this train back onto the tracks. "Let's talk about your recent charity work. You've been involved in several causes that focus on mental health and supporting veterans. That's really important work." Sure, Harry says dismissively, waving his hand like he's swatting away a fly. "I do what I can. It's easy when you have the platform I have. Not everyone can make the kind of impact I make, you know? It takes a special kind of person." Jon's expression hardens. "I think a lot of people make incredible impacts every single day without recognition. Teachers, nurses, firefighters, people working in communities." "Oh, please," Harry interrupts, rolling his eyes dramatically. "Those are jobs. What I do is different. I'm a prince. When I speak, the world listens. When I support a cause, it actually matters. No offense to your firefighters or whatever, but they're not exactly changing the world." The audience gasps. Some people shift uncomfortably in their seats. This isn't funny anymore. This isn't entertainment. This is a man genuinely believing that his title makes him superior to everyday heroes who risk their lives. Jon sits forward, his casual demeanor completely gone. "With all due respect, and I use that term loosely right now, those people you're dismissing save lives every single day. They run into burning buildings. They work double shifts at hospitals. They don't do it for recognition or because of some title they were born into. They do it because it matters. And I'm sure that's very noble," Harry says with a patronizing smile. "But let's be real here. Who's going to get more attention for a cause? Me or some random firefighter from New Jersey? I'm not trying to be harsh, Jon. I'm just stating facts." "Facts," Jon says, his voice low and controlled, but you can hear the anger simmering beneath. "Let me give you some facts. This show has hosted countless guests who've done extraordinary things without a crown on their heads. Scientists who've cured diseases, activists who've changed laws, artists who've moved millions, and every single one of them showed up here with humility and respect." Harry laughs again, that same condescending tone. "Are you seriously lecturing me right now? Do you know who I am?" "I know exactly who you are," Jon fires back. You're a guest on my show who's been disrespectful since the moment you walked out here. You dismissed my handshake, insulted the platform that invited you, and now you're sitting here acting like basic human decency is beneath you. Oh, come on, Harry says, still smirking like this is all a game. You Americans are so sensitive. Can't take a little honesty? Maybe that's your problem. You're too worried about everyone's feelings. The audience is completely silent now. This isn't awkward anymore. It's hostile. Honesty? John's voice rises slightly. You want to talk about honesty? Honestly, I've had enough. I've sat here and tried to have a conversation with you. I've tried to give you the benefit of the doubt, thinking maybe you were just having an off day. But you've made it crystal clear that you think you're better than everyone in this room. I mean, Harry gestures around casually. Technically I am. That's just hierarchy. That's how the world works. John stands up. Just stands right up from his desk. The audience collectively holds its breath. In all the years of his show, through every controversial guest and heated debate, John has never stood up in the middle of an interview like this. You know what? John says, his voice steady but filled with barely contained fury. I don't care what title you have. I don't care where you came from or who your family is. You walked onto this stage and disrespected not just me, but every person who works on this show. The crew who set up your lighting, the producers who booked you, the audience who took time out of their lives to be here. And most disgustingly, you disrespected the everyday heroes who actually make a difference in this world. Harry's smirk finally fades. He seems to realize that this isn't playing out the way he expected. I think you're overreacting. I'm not done. John cuts him off sharply. You sit there talking about how the world listens when you speak, how your platform matters more than other people's work. But let me tell you something. A platform means nothing if you use it to lift yourself up instead of lifting others. A title means nothing if you treat people like they're beneath you. And right now, you're showing everyone watching exactly who you really are. This is ridiculous, Harry says, standing up now too, his voice getting defensive. You can't talk to me like this. I just did, John replies firmly. And here's what's going to happen now. This interview is over. You're going to leave my stage, and you're going to think long and hard about how you treat people. Harry's face flushes red. You're kicking me off? Do you have any idea what kind of consequences that will have for you? Consequences? John actually laughs, but it's a bitter sound. The only consequence I care about is looking at myself in the mirror and knowing I stood up for what's right. You think your title scares me? You think I'm worried about upsetting you? I've built this show on honesty and respect, and I'm not going to compromise that for anyone, prince or not. This is outrageous, Harry sputters, looking around like he expects someone to come to his defense. I came here as a favor to you. A favor? John's voice rises. You came here and insulted everyone and everything. You mocked the people who make this show happen. You belittled the real heroes in our society. And you did it all with this smug attitude, like you're entitled to treat people however you want because of an accident of birth. Harry points his finger at John, his voice getting louder and more aggressive. You have no right to judge me. You don't know what it's like to live under the pressure I live under. You don't understand the responsibilities I carry. Responsibility? John shoots back. Real responsibility is recognizing that whatever platform you have should be used to make things better, not to make yourself feel superior. Real responsibility is treating the person who serves you coffee with the same respect you'd want for yourself. You don't get to claim responsibility while acting like a spoiled child who's never been told no. The tension in the studio is electric. Every camera is capturing this. Every audience member is witnessing this complete breakdown of what should have been a simple talk show interview. I want to speak to your producers, Harry demands, his voice shaking with anger. This is unacceptable. I was told this would be a friendly interview. It would have been, John says, his voice dropping to a deadly calm. If you had shown up as a decent human being instead of an entitled brat, the door is right there. Use it. Harry's mouth opens and closes. He's clearly not used to being spoken to this way. In his world, people bow and scrape. They accommodate. They make excuses for bad behavior because of who he is. But not here. Not now. You're making a huge mistake, Harry says, trying to regain some sense of control. The backlash from this is going to be massive. Then let it come, John responds without hesitation. I'd rather face backlash for doing the right thing than face myself, knowing I let this slide. Every person watching at home right now is seeing exactly what happened here. They heard what you said. They saw how you acted. And they'll make their own judgments. Harry takes a step toward John, his face contorted with rage. You think you're some kind of hero? You're just a talk show host. You're nobody. John doesn't flinch. He stands his ground, looking Harry straight in the eye. Maybe I am just a talk show host, but at least I know how to treat people with basic human dignity. At least I understand that no title in the world gives you the right to be cruel. And at least I have the backbone to stand up to bullies, even when they wear crowns. The word bullies hangs in the air like a bomb. Harry's entire body tenses. His hands curl into fists at his sides. How dare you, he hisses. How absolutely dare you call me a bully? If the shoe fits, John says simply. You came here and bullied everyone around you. You used your status to try to make people feel small. That's exactly what a bully does. A producer appears from offstage, clearly trying to de-escalate. Gentlemen, perhaps we should take a break. There's no break, John says firmly, not taking his eyes off Harry. There's no coming back from this. The interview is done. He needs to leave. Now. Harry looks around wildly, seeming to search for allies, for anyone who will take his side. But the audience sits in stunned silence. The crew members avoid his gaze. Even the producer who tried to intervene steps back. Fine, Harry spits out. Fine. I don't need this. I don't need you. I don't need any of this. He rips off his microphone, the wire snapping as he yanks it too hard. He throws it onto the chair where he was sitting. Careful, John says dryly. That equipment is worth more than your respect for other people, which apparently isn't saying much. That final jab sends Harry over the edge. His face goes from red to purple. You're going to regret this. I promise you, you're going to regret this. I have connections you can't even imagine. I can make your life very difficult. John crosses his arms. Is that a threat? It's a promise, Harry snaps back. Then let me make you a promise, John says, his voice ice cold. I'm going to air this, every single second of it. I'm not going to edit it to make you look better. I'm not going to protect your image. Everyone is going to see exactly what happened here tonight. They're going to see how you walked in here thinking you could treat people like garbage. They're going to see how you responded when you were called out. And they're going to draw their own conclusions about what kind of person you really are. Harry's jaw works silently. He seems to be calculating, trying to figure out if John is bluffing, but one look at John's face tells him everything he needs to know. This isn't a bluff. This is happening. You'll never work in television again, Harry says, his voice almost shaking. I'll make sure of it. I've had a good run, John replies with a shrug. And if standing up to entitled jerks is what ends my career, then I'm okay with that. At least I'll go out knowing I didn't compromise who I am. The standoff continues for another few heartbeats. The entire studio is holding its breath. Then Harry does something nobody expects. He lunges forward, not physically attacking, but getting right in John's face, close enough that their noses almost touch. You are nothing, Harry says in a low, venomous whisper that the microphones barely pick up. You are absolutely nothing compared to me. John doesn't back away. He doesn't even blink. Then why are you so threatened by what I'm saying? That question, simple as it is, seems to break something in Harry. His composure, already fragile, shatters completely. Threatened? He shouts, loud enough that people in the audience actually jump. I'm not threatened by you. You're a joke. This whole show is a joke. This country is a joke. Security? John calls out calmly. Please escort our guest out of the building. 2 security guards appear from the wings. They're professional, calm, but their presence is unmistakable. Harry looks at them, looks back at John, and something in his expression shifts from rage to disbelief. You're seriously having me removed by security? Like I'm some kind of criminal? You're not a criminal, John says evenly. You're just someone who forgot that being a decent person matters more than any title. And until you remember that, you're not welcome on this stage. The security guards move closer. They don't touch Harry, but their intent is clear. He needs to leave. Now, Harry looks around one more time, as if hoping someone will intervene, will tell him this is all a misunderstanding. But nobody moves. Nobody speaks up for him. This isn't over, Harry says, his voice cracking slightly. He's losing the battle to maintain his composure. You have no idea what you've started. Actually, you started it, John points out. I'm just finishing it. With security flanking him, Harry has no choice but to move toward the exit. But he can't help himself. He turns back one more time, pointing at John with a shaking finger. Everyone is going to hear about this. Everyone is going to know what you did. Good, John says firmly. I hope they do. I hope everyone knows that I don't tolerate people who think their birth circumstances give them the right to treat others like trash. I hope everyone knows that on this show, respect is earned, not inherited. Harry's mouth opens like he wants to say more, but no words come out. The security guards gently but firmly guide him toward the exit. His footsteps echo in the silent studio as he walks away, each step seeming to drain more of his false confidence. Just before he disappears through the door, Harry stops. He doesn't turn around fully, but his voice carries across the studio one final time. "You're going to wish you'd treated me better." John's response is immediate and unwavering. "No, I'm not. Because treating you better would have meant ignoring how you treated everyone else. And that's not who I am." The door closes behind Harry with a definitive click. The sound seems to break the spell that's held the entire studio frozen. The audience erupts, not in applause, but in a buzz of shocked conversation. People are turning to each other, mouths agape, trying to process what they just witnessed. John stands there for a moment, his chest rising and falling with deep breaths. You can see the adrenaline wearing off, the reality of what just happened settling in. He turns to face the audience. "Well," he says, and there's a slight tremor in his voice that wasn't there during the confrontation. "That was not how I expected this evening to go." Nervous laughter ripples through the crowd. John runs a hand through his hair, visibly trying to collect himself. "I need you all to understand something," he continues, his voice growing stronger. "What you just saw wasn't about me versus him. It wasn't about some personal grudge or ratings or drama. It was about something much simpler than that." The audience leans forward, hanging on every word. "It was about basic human decency," John says slowly, carefully. "It was about recognizing that no matter who you are, where you come from, what title you hold, you don't get to make other people feel small. You don't get to use your platform to lift yourself up by pushing others down." He pauses, looking directly into the camera. "To everyone watching at home, to everyone in this audience, to everyone on my crew, I want you to know something. I will always stand up for what's right over what's easy, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it costs me something, because that's what integrity means." The audience begins to clap. It starts small, just a few people, but it builds quickly into thunderous applause. People rise to their feet, the standing ovation growing louder and louder. John holds up his hands, trying to quiet them down. "Thank you, but save it. I'm not a hero. I just did what any decent person should do when confronted with that kind of behavior. I refuse to enable it." He walks back to his desk, sits down heavily in his chair. "We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, assuming I still have a job, we'll continue with our scheduled programming. Because life goes on, even after the most bizarre interviews in television history." The camera pulls back slowly as the show cuts to commercial. But before it does, you catch one more glimpse of John's face. Despite the stress, despite the intensity of what just happened, there's something else there too. Relief, satisfaction, the look of someone who knows they did the right thing. Consequences be damned. Behind the scenes, the crew is buzzing. Producers are on phones, likely dealing with the fallout that's already beginning. But on John's face, there's no regret, just a quiet confidence that comes from standing up for your principles when it matters most. That's what really happened that night. Not a planned segment, not scripted drama, just one man's refusal to let status and entitlement go unchallenged, even when that challenge came with significant risk. Because some things matter more than protecting someone's ego. Some things matter more than avoiding conflict. And human dignity is definitely one of them. What do you think about how John handled this situation?